Okay, we are live again. Um, yeah, this is a funny one, isn't it? Make America fat again. Um, yeah, this one, it was just too tempting. Um, I said, I'm probably not going to get into the USA and Trump and all that things too much because there's a limit to how interesting it can be. But this one was, I saw this one yesterday, and I thought I would comment on that. As you can see from the title, it's going to be it's hilarious, isn't it? Now, a little bit about my background. If you didn't know, my university education is actually in economics. And when you have a proper education in economics, it can be painful to watch the news and listen to politicians. Mostly, it is the politicians on the left who act like morons and they say things that are just not correct. But, you will find people like that on the right as well. And some of them, I'm convinced, they know that what they're saying is just nonsense, but they will say it anyway because they are saying what people want to hear. And I think Trump is a good example of that. So, yeah, there is an interesting phenomenon going on. First of all, KP Heathen, good to see you. Horror Business, Arc Landscape, Rosemary, Altera, wonderful. Good to have you all here. There is this phenomenon that kind of surprised me a little bit, actually. It's this American nationalism combined with an imperialistic view of the world. And I didn't, well, I won't say that I didn't see it coming because it's been obvious for a long time, but it was, well, I'm kind of, my feeling is a feeling of surprise a little bit. With these crazy statements about acquiring Greenland, like, and they will say geographically it's part of North America. It's not. It's geologically part of North America. That's a different thing. And yeah, making Canada the 51st state, such an asshole move, to say that. So disrespectful. And it makes the world disrespect the USA. And people in the USA some of them will say the opposite, but that's only because you don't understand the mentality in, for instance, Europe. We don't respect that. We disrespect it. Now, and the thing is that KP Heathen, feel free to just get rid of the trolls and haters. The thing is that it's like with Greenland, it's like, yeah, we get it. You want to drill and excavate, not excavate, but you want to get all the minerals there, and those will be used for batteries mainly, and in the weapons industry as well. And that's why they want easy access to Greenland. And I think everyone understands that. It's all these other statements are just idiotic. Now, by the way, let's get to the point here. Denmark has a big, fat weapon. Now, I read some statistics on this, and I'm going to use a very fun word, flabbergasted. Flabbergasted? Isn't that the word? By the fact that between 10 and 15% of Americans are using Ozempic. And I was like, what? That many? And here's the question. It should be easy to answer. What happens if Trump imposes, let's say, 25% tax on everything from the EU? Will Ozempic become more expensive when that happens? Like by 25%? The answer is yes. So, yeah, so this company, Novo Nordisk, they are making Ozempic, and I believe an alternative, which is called Wegovy, and also a lot of insulin products. Now, they have the patent, the unique patent on Ozempic and Wegovy. So you can't just steal that and make it within the USA. So this is something that will harm all of those people that are using Ozempic in the USA. So it's just one isolated, a good example of what happens when you start a trade war. Now, when you start a trade war, you will say, okay, everything from a particular country, we will have a tariff on that, like 25%. That country will respond automatically by imposing the same or higher tariff the other way. So you are going to get a higher price. You're just increasing the price, and you end up at the same place as where you started. The only difference is that the state on both sides get more in taxes, and people will have to pay more, because when the cost, and taxes is a cost, is increased, that increase will be transferred to the buyer. That's very simple. These companies, they're not going to just accept a higher cost for providing things to their customers. They're going to increase the price. Of course, that's just how it works. It's not a good or sensible way to do business internationally. It is considered by, I think I will say, all people who have an understanding of economy, as a foolish thing to do. A tariff and hurting or imposing tariff on a country is good to do when you want to hurt that country, and the international community is together on that. So an example would be, and I think that we should impose tariffs on China because of ethical reasons. But then the whole international community needs to be behind that. You can't do that as a particular, as a unique country can't do that. Well, they can, but then they will just be hit with the same back. Okay? So I hope that everyone understands how that works. So in short, tariffs don't work. And now, if they go through with the tariffs on everything from Europe, then America will get fat again. I shouldn't laugh because, obesity is a serious thing, and if people can get some help from medication, and if that's their last resort, so to speak, then that's probably a good thing. Um, so it's hurting people who are in a difficult position already. So yeah, but yeah, this is happening. This is happening, and we are laughing here in Europe because it's so ridiculous. The whole thing. It's just so ridiculous. And I'm getting messages and so on. I'm seeing it in the comments from many, many people in the USA. They're just shaking their head. They don't want this at all. And it comes from a place of a misunderstanding. I was going to say understanding, but it comes from a place of viewing the world or viewing the USA as much more powerful in the world, in the international community, than it actually is. We need to understand that we live in a very different world now than just 10 years ago. You know, um, we now have BRICS, those countries, typically countries without a functional democracy. They are banding together. We have um, what's the word? The old balance, the old power balance is no longer. It's very different now. So taking that into account, looking at what the USA is doing now with starting actual trade wars, it's mind boggling. Boggling. No, what's the word? It's mind bending. It's extremely frustrating to look at that because it's so stupid to do it. It is, and I don't think Trump is stupid. I think this is something that's being done to help the donors. I've said that from the fucking start here. Mind-boggling. Thank you. um, the donors, these companies, of course, they want tariffs. Of course, because they will make money from that. Of course. But they are the only ones making money from that. And the Americans will have to pay. Everything becomes more expensive. You are going to see, and this is not revolutionary or brilliant of me to say, but you're going to see inflation in the USA because these things happening now, these things being done, they will drive. They are inflationary. That's just how it works. So we can add to that they are trying to get rid of the illegal immigrants. I'm not blaming anyone for that. I mean, that we do that in Norway. We don't allow illegal immigrants to stay in Norway. But in the USA, it's different because it's been ingrained in the economy. That should never have happened. But it did happen. And if you are getting rid of all those people, it's going to drive the wages up. That is going to increase the prices. And when you add tariffs to that, that's inflation. That's inflation. They're going to have to, and this is economy, okay? They're going to have to increase rates, interest rates, to try to battle that. Now, we saw that already, and you'll have to excuse me. This is economy, and some people I know find it very boring. But you need to understand how this works. You can't just have an opinion. Okay, so the central bank in the USA, they were expected to decrease the interest rate, but they didn't. Okay, and they didn't because of these things being done now. Okay, we might even see, and this is the analysis that economists are making now, we might even see an increase in the interest rate in the USA. And they're going to try to do that to cool down the economy, to prevent and inflation that is already happening. Okay, so it's like the tools that we have are very primitive. Okay, it's like sledgehammers, and it's very primitive, but they're going to try to combat this with the interest rate. And Trump was furious, and he said that he demanded the central bank to do as he wanted, which is something I have to say this. The idea that the government should have anything to say when it comes to the central bank's decisions on the interest rate, you only see that in states that we do not want to compare ourselves with, like dictatorships. So this is one of the live streams that, oh, people will hate what I'm saying, and people, oh, I unsubscribe. Oh, and my response to that is always, oh no, how will I sleep at night? But I'm always going to be truthful and do my best here to. I try to look at things objectively, okay, and this is just how the world works. You may not like that, and you may want the USA to be the dominant power in the world today, but it's not. I would much, I would like the USA to be the dominant power instead of China, but that's just not where we are now, okay? And the economy, these things are very predictable. So please, if I'm provoking you now, I can't help that you're getting provoked by this. I'm not saying anything here that is just an opinion. I'm trying to share with you how it works. How it works, okay? So, will tariffs help some businesses? Yeah, of course. What will it do to the economy as a whole within the USA? It will drive up the inflation. That will hurt people in general. What will they do, like the central bank, to try to combat that? They will either keep the interest rate where it is or they will increase it. That will hurt people in general. So, okay. And the Greenland thing, it's just, it, I mean, it's just stupid. I mean, I'll just quickly comment on that because I see comments where people are writing, oh, the USA is much more powerful than Denmark. So if they want, they will invade Greenland and Denmark can't do anything about it. That's probably true, but it's not going to happen because of the consequences for the USA. So here's a big question, or here's a question of the day. What would happen if a country within NATO invades another country within NATO? What would the consequences be for the invading country? Yeah, you know. So it's yeah. And some people will say we don't need NATO. Well, maybe you don't. But yeah, the consequences would be quite devastating. And it wouldn't be about military power, it would be about the economy. And it would isolate the USA. Russia, look at Russia, it would isolate the USA immensely. Okay, so I'm not going to hate on Trump. I think he's just doing his job. He is a little bit down on his knees to his donors, I think, at the moment. Let's see. Getting to the chat now. Um, let's see here. um, yeah, well, now we need to understand the role of NATO. What is NATO? Why do we have NATO? Do I think that NATO is a peacekeeping organization? No, I'm not naive. Do I think that NATO is needed? Yes, sadly, yes. Do I think that the USA has been paying more, that it's been unfair that the USA has been paying more than they share to NATO? Obviously, yes. So that's not fair, is it? Um, these are also things that are very easy to see, I think. Um, have the European countries been lazy, leaning themselves like, or hiding behind Big Brother in the Big Brother USA? Yeah, they have. That needs to stop. So, yeah, I'm sorry that we are in this situation now. War was manufactured in Ukraine, and that's where we are now. And the idea again that the USA will invade Denmark, if the USA wants to invade Denmark, that being Greenland, they can do that. Do you think that Denmark will show up there and try to fight off the USA in Greenland? No, no. But the consequences would be devastating for the USA. We're talking about punishing the USA with, for instance, one thing that would probably be done would be to stop buying oil and gas from the USA. That's one thing. That would harm the economy in the USA immensely. Um, it would be it would create a whole lot of problems for the USA. So it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Someone here wrote it's a distraction. It probably is a distraction. It's also a way to make, it's a PR stunt. And you saw that very clearly when this son, the Trump older son there, he went there on this PR stunt, and they got some got some homeless people into this cafe or whatever that thing was, and it was disgusting, and it reminded me of the treatment of indigenous peoples in the USA in the past, and I think that was the reaction here in Europe. Um, it was probably a PR stunt that was successful within people who were already very supportive of Trump, but it 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 was, to me it was disgusting to watch that. Um, and there's been a poll, which is it was not a big poll on Greenland, so it's not statistically significant. But I'll just mention it. But because it was like 85% was against Greenland joining the USA. Um, so, how did we identify those people as homeless? Well, they said that they were. Not all of them, but at least some of them. I know they said that, well, that they were in that situation, and they were offered a warm meal and given a hat. Um, kingdoms and kobolds. No, no, I just told you. Okay, did you write that comment in the chat before you heard what I said? I just told you. So Eine Wood Dog. I think maybe you are from China. You don't have to worry about the Chinese rule. China doesn't rule other countries, which is the problem. The Turks and Arabs ruled the world when China was the hegemon. I'll just say one word: Tibet. So, okay. No, hold on. China has a disgusting government. The Communist Party in China. I'm sorry. I need to elaborate elaborate on this a little bit. Yeah, Taiwan. Yeah. Okay. China is an imperialistic and unethical nation ruled by a bunch of fucking bastards who should be dragged before an international court and sentenced for crimes against humanity. I'm talking about the Uyghur work camps, talking about the treatment of the people in Tibet. This goes way back, and it is disgusting. Hong Kong, how they struck down on people in Hong Kong, crushed what was a free state. I am disgusted by the Chinese government. The Chinese people are probably nice people, but the people in power there should be they're a waste of space, a waste of air, and they are criminals the way I see it. And when it comes to that little shit that is the leader, the president, or whatever they call him, and the only good thing about him is that he looks a little bit like Winnie the Pooh. I hope that cleared up the situation. The West should apologize for what happened in Hong Kong. Okay, that's funny. Okay. We got rid of the communists or whatever it was there. Yeah. So we being me, deal out some heavy blows whenever it's needed here on this channel. I don't care if people like it or not. That's just how I do it. Yeah. Kat, thank you for the donation. That's so kind of you. You are very kind. Different county, same movie. I go sit in the woods. Yeah. Now, concerning the central bank, it's I'm not sure if that's a topic for discussion here, because it is, most people find it very boring. You just took that man's freedom of speech away, Bjorn. No, that's not what happened. But this is to safeguard the channel. I do get some Chinese people here sometimes, and most of them are nice. But I do recognize the people who are here to. I think they're from these troll fabrics, troll factories, not troll fabrics, troll factories, and they will make a mess on your channel. So you need to get them away, and to just kick them out. It's quite important, actually. So if you see that, and they will typically share Communist Party propaganda, and they are some of them are actually hired. It is their job, and you just need to get rid of them. You also have some Russian propaganda people doing that, um, and they are must be treated in the same way. So U.S. alcohol is banned here in Canada. Is it? Is that new or just happened now? Well, um, hmm. Well, I'm also actually I'm quite curious on what will happen in the future in Russian America, um, because I don't get why people don't look that way. Why don't people look that way? I know I was going to say you heard it here first, but I'm not the first one to mention that. But if you imagine a world where tariffs have isolated the USA, I don't think that will happen, um, by the way. But if it would happen, um, then what happens with, I said, Russian America? You know what that is? It's the old name for Alaska. And it used to be Russian. Would Putin want that back? It's a bit of a far stretch, I know, but it's like it's worth thinking about a little bit, you know, because Alaska is not seen as Alaska by Russians, you know, it's seen as Russian territory still, at least by the more nationalist powers in Russia. So it's worth keeping that in mind, you know. Do I think that Putin is crazy? No, um, not at all. Um, yeah, Eric, sorry, but Alaska is ours now. Yeah, but it doesn't matter, does it? When you start looking at the world with the idea that might is right, then it doesn't matter. And when you look at and when so that's what Trump is doing when he's looking at Greenland and he says it should be ours. And if we can't buy it, we will not rule out invading it. Well, what's the difference between that and Russia taking Alaska? And you can say it's ours now, all day long, but it doesn't matter if you. Here's what I'm trying to tell you guys, okay? If you allow your country or your leaders to use a might is right rhetoric, you've taken a step that you shouldn't have taken. You've entered a kind of international rule, a kind of way of living, a kind of we shouldn't go there. That's what I'm trying to say, you know. So the weak will lose. Yeah, well, maybe what if that is the USA then? They will just take Alaska and nuke all your cities. So, I don't like that idea. You know what I like? I like respect, mutual respect. I like communication, and I don't like wars. So, um, and you can say all day long that there are differences and so on. Well, it doesn't matter. It won't matter if you first enter that way of dealing with other nations, where, as I said, might is right. If we want something, we will just take it. Then you better be the stronger part in every conflict, and you're not going to be that forever. Okay. So this is quite important, you know. Um, yeah. Yeah, China is a prime example. They will just take what they want, and they have taken what they want for a long time. That's why it's such a huge country. I remember the Soviet Union because I'm so old, and they would just take. They took what they wanted, and it said that, you know, oh, Europe, uh, they wouldn't have won the World War II without USA. Well, we didn't win. Russia or the Soviet Union, they won. Um, and this is something that people should learn in schools. I wonder sometimes what people learn in schools, if they learn anything at all. um, Connect the Cut says, why couldn't Greenland be split into concessions owned by different countries? Why would it? It's a sovereign country within in a coalition with Denmark. Why would it? Why would they allow that at all? You know, there is no reason for that. Um, you know, you can go on and on like that, and look at other countries, but this is what is, and now I'm going to try to say it the right way, mind-boggling, right? That we are now at a place where it's okay to look at other countries and have opinions about who should own that land, who should own that piece of land. Now, don't you see that there are people actually living there? Kingdoms and kobolds. Well, we need to define what sovereign is then. It is not owned by Denmark. You need to look into that, okay? So, what's the word? It's maybe sovereign isn't the exact right word, but it's a yeah. You can look into that. You probably won't, but anyway. So what I'm trying to say is that it's a bit funny that when they hit Europe with tariffs, well, okay, your Ozempic will be more expensive quite a lot as well. Connecticut, thank you for asking. The way I understand it is that Denmark, they their connection with Greenland is that it's a well, Greenland has its own government. It's like, if I can give you an example, would it be like no, I'm not sure, but it's like Denmark gives a lot of money every year to Greenland, and they have a sovereign. They rule in a sovereign way over Greenland territory, like Greenland rules their own territory, right? Okay, so it's quite important to understand that. Now, yeah. Svalbard is different. Svalbard is there were no people living at Svalbard, so it was shared between Norway and Russia. Now the entire Svalbard is Norwegian. The Russian settlements were left, and yeah, you could say Norway took Svalbard, but it was not like an inhabited area. Now I've been there, and if you've been there, you will know why it was not inhabited, because it's a brutal place to 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 exist. You had some trappers, not trappers, hunters, but yeah. So yeah, Svalbard is interesting now because a threat has come from Russia about all of that. They said something like, if the USA takes Greenland, then Russia will need to take Svalbard, which Norway and NATO will not allow. And why? Because it's strategically important. So, yeah. I don't think there are people at Barentsburg anymore, actually. Let's see here. No, Greenland does not want to be American. That's propaganda. And you need to read proper news and watch proper news, not nonsensical news. I just said that they did a poll, and they're probably going to do another one. I don't know. So yeah, okay. Now, so Svalbard is important. Why? Let's see here. There was a question. Yeah. So, is it easy to Laura is asking, is it easy to visit Svalbard? Well, yeah. It is an interesting place because you can go there without visa. Anyone can go there. It's also the only place on the planet, I think, where you're required to carry firearms when you leave the little town there. That's because of the polar bears, actually. Do we actually have Russian trolls here? I haven't had them in a while. Damage Incorporated, are you one of the Russian trolls? We will keep you here as something to look at, because it's interesting. Why doesn't Norway just act with class and decency? Russia demands respect and thoughtful ideas. Just give it. The last part there, Russia demands respect and thoughtful ideas. Just give it. If you hadn't written that, I would have given you a decent response. I will say that because of what you wrote there, I will just say, go and fuck yourself. Something like that. Or what about no? What about you show some respect here? I'm Norwegian. You're not getting Svalbard. You can go and fuck off. So, but I will also say that, and this is not to this troll, that I don't think Norway has acted in a good way towards Russia at all. They should have been the grown-up one in that relationship, but they haven't. So, yeah. Russia has issued threats towards Norway. It's quite a common thing. They just do that. And it's sad because that doesn't represent the Russian people. There are lots of Russians living in Norway. Lots of trade, but there was lots of trade between Russia and Norway, especially up in the north. And that was a good thing. I wish that could have continued, but no. So, you know, but yeah, you can't come here and demand things. If you do that, you're going to get what you just got. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Um, now, yeah, well, I just ignore him. Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, and I mostly ignore these people, but sometimes I've learned that it's best to just do what I feel like at the moment. Um, no, I'm not letting them get to me. Don't worry. And yeah, cuss words help. They do sometimes. They do. Yeah. Um, yeah. Okay. Um, uh, let's see. Emma, thank you for saying that. You're from Ontario, Canada. Thank you. I think that all of the noise coming from the USA now, it doesn't represent the American people. And I've been to the USA, and the American people are nice people, of course. But it's just what's happening now is fueling a trend that some people really like, and it's a little bit sad, but it's not going to be. It will be that trend will be gone in a little while. I think that people, the way the things that the present government in the USA is doing, the way they are doing things now, they're going to have to change their ways, because this is not going to end well for the people in the USA. It doesn't even take much knowledge about the economy to see that. They're going to disguise it for some time, but you can only do that for so long, and then it shows, and then the the general opinion will change. So are Americans back Trump? Well, only about half. If we're going to, now it's a little bit less than that, I think, if we're going to look at the result from the election. Yeah. So yeah, and yes, I get that, because of the woke stuff in the USA, which was extreme and probably is extreme still, that helped, of course. And now it's not 60%. It was never 60%, was it? Anyone know the proper figures from the election? Anyone have those numbers? I won't take the time to find those now while I'm doing this live stream, but No, it's not 80-20. Okay, we can. I can try to do what is very difficult for a man, to do two things at the same time. Let's see here if we can find the results. I'm sure that we can find them. It was 49. Trump got 49.8% of popular votes. Kamala Harris got 48.3% of popular vote. And yeah, the popular vote is, I'm just going to have to look this up. You'll have to forgive me. Oh, sorry about that. Now, the popular vote is one of the two results that you get. You will know this, okay? The popular vote is simply the candidate. Hold on, you have to forgive me. So you have the electoral college vote and the popular vote. And the popular vote is, now you will know. Now you have the numbers, and yeah. So clearly not 60%. And people will now say that they don't believe the numbers. Well, that's fair. But I can't, sitting here, I can't just guess the numbers. I have to use the numbers that are actually available. So I can't go by feeling on that. Okay. Efo, thank you so much for that donation. Did I ban the Russian person? I can't remember now. I don't think I did. But I don't think it was a Russian person. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, it was quite divided. And then you can say that you don't believe in the numbers, but what am I supposed to do? I have to use the numbers that are actually available. Now, when it comes to, and this is a dangerous thing to say, but when it comes to the former election, and this is interesting, the former election, the one that Trump, where he claimed that the election was stolen. Now, I'm not going to make any claims, but I did follow that. I was up and I followed the curves. Statistically speaking, it was interesting how they developed, because it was not, I'm tempted to say that they did not develop in a natural way. That's all I will say about that. Okay. Is it possible that the curves change like that during the election night? It's possible. Is it probable? Well, that's a different question, isn't it? That's all I will say about that. You know, I know, Memo. I know. I know. That's what I'm referring to, and that's what I'm referring to. I can't even say it out loud here. Um, I want to say a lot of things about that, but I can't. And the fact that I can't should tell us all quite a lot. Okay, so yeah. Um, you don't get to enjoy my beard. The website will be like this, and that's just how it is. Um, and it's to prevent stealing. Um, so yeah. So I'm it's dangerous and shallow and untidy and dangerous waters here. Hmm. We are not allowed to say that. That's what I would want to say. You know. Yeah. Okay. Is that enough provocation and so on for today? Hopefully. But we can disagree and still be friends. Unless you're a Chinese trolls, then we can't be friends. And you have to be banished. So, yeah. I will be back suddenly, maybe even tomorrow. And the way it works here is that if I've been wrong, I'm only human. I will tell you, okay. And I think the most important thing, unless you're a Chinese troll, communist Chinese troll, then we can have a conversation. And it's important to keep that conversation going. You're getting the Scandinavian take on things here. And I've been guilty in the past when I made a video even. I regret nothing. Okay, that's important. But I made a video responding to one of the times when the Russian officials made threats towards Norway. And I told them basically to go and, as I say, fondle themselves in a dark room. So, as a Norwegian, I am tempted to be not objective, but rather subjective and subjective to a kind of nationalism, maybe, because I'm proud of being Norwegian. And I would be immensely provoked if Russia would try to take Svalbard. I would be so provoked. Do I think that we should then send our sons and daughters there to fight? No, that would be, I don't believe in that. Okay, I'm going to get my breakfast now. Enough of this. We'll talk soon. Okay, bye bye.